Om Jnanatirmirandhasya Jnananjana Shalaka Chakshurmilitam Yena Tasmai Shri Gurave Namaha. Welcome to devotees from various parts of India and various parts of the world. And now you listen. You took enough photos yesterday. Better to listen. Better than seeing the mouth is to hear what comes out of the mouth. It's more important. Maybe devotees in some parts of the world watching this. We have a Gaur Bhagavan. We have any feedback? Not yet. Will you know if anyone's online?
It's not actually like the internet.
Oh, the internet. Well, there you go. You rely on Krishna. You can't rely on the internet. So, today is my Vyasa Puja. It means you've all very kindly gathered here to remind me that I'm supposed to be serving Srila Prabhupada. As I was explaining last year, that my Vyasa Puja means that I have to worship Srila Prabhupada, and all of you can come, and if I can direct your energy and attention towards Srila Prabhupada, and Prabhupada to his Guru, and like this up to Krishna, that is my role. That is what I have to do. The most important part of the day is already over. That's offering arati to Srila Prabhupada. But throughout the day, throughout every moment, we have to remember that we're all here by the mercy of Srila Prabhupada. Not by my mercy. Prabhupada's books, Prabhupada's movement, Prabhupada's instructions. So, my role, as Prabhupada often said, is to be like a peon. That's a messenger. Carries the message, that's all, without changing it. So, you may think, well, what is my qualification to accept the honor and affection that you are offering to me? So many devotees are bringing gifts, and I think I get enough prasad in the next 2-3 days. I can go and live in a cave on the Saptagiri for the rest of the year with all the prasad I'm getting in the 1 or 2 days. It's very beautiful here. This temple is beautiful, and we have Saptagiri Darshan. Wonderful every day. Yes, I was just before coming here, I was in Vellore, and I was just outside the city, and there was a big hill, just the same distance. But it's not the same. There are so many hills, but not every hill is Govardhan. Not every hill is non-different from Ananta Shesh. So it's very sacred. If you ever get this internet connection going, you could show, I think, have darshan of at least one of the giris, one of the 7. So yeah, the devotees are very affectionately offering me so many things. So what's my qualification to be here in this beautiful temple surrounded by so many happy devotees, and why should I accept that glorification? In our parampara there are so many great names, recent acharyas. Srila Prabhupada, Srila Bhakti Siddhanta Saraswati Thakur, Srila Gaur Kishore Das Prabhuji Maharaj, Srila Bhakti Vinod Thakur, and so many great. These particular devotees, they are, even in the history of Vaishnavism, very great. There's no words to describe. Jagat, what is that? Jagat Tarite Shakti Dhare Jane Jane. All the associates of Chaitanya Mahaprabhu, they can individually, by Chaitanya Mahaprabhu's mercy, they're all powerful enough to deliver the whole universe. So, there's that kind of guru who's Namaste Gauravani Shrimurtiye Dinatarine. Bhakti Siddhanta Saraswati Thakur has offered respects as the very form of Chaitanya Mahaprabhu's instructions, who is the savior of the fallen. So there are such great gurus in our sampradaya. People don't know. If people had even a slight awakening of transcendental knowledge, they would never consider worshipping all these bogus Bhagawans. It's such a blot on the history of India. The spiritual history of India, so many great personalities, and these most foolish people, most rascal people, instead of worshipping the actual acharyas, they've made some false Bhagawans. If people even had the slightest awakening of spiritual knowledge, they could begin to appreciate who are the really great acharyas. It's maybe our failing, or it's a sad situation that even now people, within ISKCON we have some appreciation of Prabhupada, but the people in the world in general, they're glorifying so many people, but they don't know about Prabhupada. So, along with distributing Prabhupada's book, this is the best way to glorify Srila Prabhupada, by distributing his books, but also books about Srila Prabhupada. People should know what is the gift Prabhupada has given. Of course, it's very difficult for people to appreciate what Prabhupada has given. I was just saying I was telling you about how I gave this book about Vangshidas Babaji Maharaj to a businessman. And what did he do? They can't appreciate. So people are foolish. They appreciate, he opened so many temples. They appreciate what they can see, some qualitative, some quantitative gift. They see, yes, Bhaktivedanta Swami, he was a great Swami because he opened so many big temples. So he was great before he opened any temples, even if he never opened any temples. That didn't make him great. But his greatness is that he's fully surrendered to Krishna. And because he's fully surrendered to Krishna, and he realized that people, they require some big building. If they see that, they'll think, this is something very important. And then they'll come. Then we have to preach to them. Just like now, there are 10,000 people a day, I'm told by Revati Raman Prabhu, on average, coming to this temple. And how many previously? Before we had the big temple open, maybe 1,000, few hundred. Not even 1,000. 1,000 maximum. So what's the difference? Radha Govinda is the same Radha Govinda. The books are the same books that we have to distribute. But people, if there's a big building, people will think, this is something important to see. A big building, there should be big buildings for Krishna. People are building big buildings. Now it's popular. I don't think it came to South India so much yet, but in North India, these shopping malls. They're spending crores of rupees building shopping malls, and all of India, every little village is becoming, it's got all big housing apartments, and the whole of India is so much construction is going on. And in our area where our new temple is coming up in Chennai, the whole area around that it was all fields, now it's all dedicated to sense gratification. Water parks, restaurants, bars. So they're spending crores and crores of rupees just to make sure they go to hell even more thoroughly. So instead, and getting lots of money, but instead of spending all this money to make water parks and so many condominiums and buildings for people to live in, they should build big temples for Krishna. In every town and village there should be a big temple for Krishna. In Tamil Nadu we find, especially in the Tanjavur, Kumbakonam, that area, and every village has at least one big temple. Huge temple. In Europe, every village has a big church. So this is just to show these temples, instead of building big apartments, luxury apartments for your own wretched body, which is anyway going to be eaten by jackals and worms or burned in a fire, make a temple for Krishna. It's not just some tourist item, but every building should be dedicated to Krishna. So Prabhupada taught that. He built temples. He traveled all over the world. He wrote so many books. So Prabhupada should be glorified. People don't appreciate. So we should try to appreciate by reading Prabhupada's books, studying Srila Prabhupada's books, living according to that, and distributing Srila Prabhupada's books. So, what is my qualification? Right? To accept honor. Well, that is my qualification. That if I can glorify Prabhupada, then that's the qualification. Actually, I'm not qualified intrinsically, but qualified because I can point. Here is Prabhupada, and follow his instructions, and ask you to have faith in what Srila Prabhupada has given. If I have faith in what Prabhupada has given and can communicate that to you, then my duty as a guru is perfect. Among some supposed to be followers of Prabhupada, there's kind of fashion to be honest and say, well, I'm not sure if I believe everything in Prabhupada's books. I'm teaching you, we're having courses on Prabhupada's books, but I'm not sure if I really believe everything myself. I'm not going to say that. I mean, that's rascaldom, to be quite frank. If you purport to teach what's in Prabhupada's books, but you don't believe it yourself, then why teach it? If you don't have faith, that means you have faith in your own mind, or you have faith in something else. Then why study Prabhupada's books at all? Unless we accept, as Prabhupada in the introduction to Bhagavad-Gita as it is, that introduction is very important. He tells us how to read Bhagavad-Gita as it is. So we should accept as Arjuna accepts. Sarvam etadritam manye yanmang vadasi keshav. If we think that Bhagavad-Gita is just a book, it's a book. And someone wrote it, and I'm reading it, and whoever wrote it is intelligent, and I'm intelligent, so alright, let's see what they have to say. Then it's useless. But if we accept that Krishna is the Supreme Personality of Godhead and everything He says is perfect, then we can get the benefit of reading Bhagavad-Gita. And if we don't have that faith, the better we don't, if we're not prepared, if we come with a challenging attitude, that I don't really believe all of this, and Prabhupada wrote that, but I'm not really sure if he was right, then we're a rascal, that's all. So, at least I can say this much, don't be a rascal. Accept that Krishna is the Supreme Personality of God. There is God. This universe is not just some random combination of chemicals. At the very least, we can understand that there is a Supreme Controller. And who is that? That is Krishna. How do we know? Because Shastra says. How do we believe what Shastra says? Because Prabhupada told us. And we saw, at least I saw, and you can also see, that Prabhupada was a pure devotee of Krishna. There was nothing in his life where there was anything but pure devotion to Krishna. He said himself that from my childhood there was never a moment when I was not thinking of Krishna. So self-evident, pure devotee of Krishna. And he says that, yes, this is God, He is like this, so we accept. Actually, Shastra is the center. But for the Western devotees, we accepted Shastra because of Prabhupada. Actually, the system is that we accept a guru because he speaks according to Shastra. But in the Western countries, that culture isn't there. We see many people in India, they appreciate ISKCON and Prabhupada because it's teaching about Krishna Bhakti and good principles, no meat eating, no intoxication. And many people in India appreciate because of that. But for the Western devotees, it's round the other way. That we appreciated Krishna Bhakti and these principles and Shastra and everything because of Prabhupada. It's not that we appreciated Prabhupada because he's preaching Krishna Bhakti, because we had no idea what is Krishna Bhakti. So our ignorance and lack of culture in the Western countries, that in one sense that helps us to appreciate Prabhupada in a manner that the Indian devotees, they appreciate from a different angle. Seeing Prabhupada as the representative of the great tradition. We didn't know anything about any great tradition or any such thing, but appreciated what Prabhupada gave us. And in the beginning it was mostly from the experiential level. It wasn't that we're all big philosophers and we all came and sat down and thought about it, but we like the prasadam. We like the chanting. Prasadam first. And the chanting, and we liked it. We didn't know anything else, because in the Western world, and increasingly so in India nowadays, it's what do I like? If I like it, then it's good. That's how we judge everything. So Prabhupada, he very expertly gave the message of the acharyas in a way which people who had no cultural training or no consciousness of how to accept the teachings of the acharyas, he gave it. He was administering to spiritually extremely sick cases. Already dead practically for centuries there was no preaching of Krishna consciousness in the West. We hear about these miracles. Jesus brought someone back to life, dead man. Lazarus, was it? Someone. Whoever read the Bible can say. I can't remember. It was a long time ago. So Jesus brought someone back to life. But the whole of the Western world was spiritually dead. It's like, there's no pulse, there's no breathing, there's no heartbeat. Dead. So like that, there was no symptoms of any Krishna consciousness whatsoever. In India even today, it's like, pulses. Still pulse, still something is there. Still amidst all the degradation, there's still some feeling of Krishna consciousness inherently there. But in the Western world, it was spiritually dead from generation after generation of zombies. You know what a zombie is? Kya bolte Hindi mein? Prait? No, I don't know. It's a dead body it's like a ghost, something like that. It looks like a body, but it's actually dead, but it's moving around. So like that, it's spiritually dead, and Prabhupada gave Krishna consciousness. It's like if someone's a little bit alive, there's some hope of reviving them. But if they're completely dead, there's no hope. So actually it was hopeless. There was no hope in the Western world of making anyone Krishna conscious. And no one but Prabhupada could have done it. That's for sure. Maybe even among all of Chaitanya Mahaprabhu's followers, Prabhupada was the one who was chosen for this service. So, not to have faith in Srila Prabhupada it's a great disqualification. Practically, our whole movement is running on that. Despite all the difficulties that we are experiencing in our movement, after Srila Prabhupada has passed away from our normal or abnormal vision, and ongoing difficulties, and it doesn't look like things are going to, various problems within ISKCON doesn't look like it's going to get solved very quickly. But nevertheless, the faith in Prabhupada and what Prabhupada has given, that is holding our movement together and pushing it forward despite all our internal difficulties. It's still growing. There's still more and more people taking to Krishna consciousness. So, if I can emphasize this, that's my qualification. So then we may say, well, I don't need any guru, I can just read Prabhupada's books. Recently, there's one disciple of mine who's struggling with the modes of material nature more than usual. We're all struggling with the modes of material nature, but sometimes we go through particularly difficult periods. So I sent an email and quoted one verse, Tate nukampam susamikshamano bhunjana evatma kutam vipakam tadvagva prabhya vidatam namaste Jiveta so mukti pade sadaya bhava. Which Srila Prabhupada comments, this verse is the guide of all devotees. It's a guide for our lives. That those who amidst so many difficulties consider that it's not, usually in difficulties we blame. It's someone else's fault. It's the government's fault. It's my father's fault. I'm screwed up because my father didn't look after me properly. It's God's fault. It's always someone else's fault. But one who accepts it's my fault, I'm suffering the results of my sinful activities, alright, let me tolerate them and go on serving Krishna. So such a person, by that attitude, he's already back to Godhead. It's just a matter of time. He's the heir, H-E-I-R, Uttaradhikari. That's qualification to go back to Godhead. That always go on serving Krishna, despite all difficulties. So I just wrote a few lines and asked to remember this. I didn't get any reply. Then her husband, who is my godbrother, I just mentioned to him that I wrote a letter, I didn't get a reply. She said, well, I can read the verse myself. I don't need anyone to send me any verse. Well, that's why we need gurus also. Because we do. We need to. That what's helpful for us in any particular circumstance will be directed toward that. As Prabhupada gave the example that in the drugstore, in the pharmacy, there's so many medicines. So if someone thinks, well, I'm feeling sick, and someone walks in and gets some medicine, and you ask him, is that good? And he says, yeah, it's very good. So he said, okay, give me some of that also. But he got the prescription from the doctor. He may have laryngitis, so he gets some medicine, and then if we have arthritis, and we take the same medicine, it's not going to work. It may even have a harmful effect. So, exactly what we need, what's good for us, those who are experienced, they can help and say, this you should consider in this circumstance and apply this. That's the example that Srila Prabhupada gave, that we also need some guidance. General instructions are there for everyone. Often devotees ask me, well, can you give me some instruction? Yeah, sure. Chant Hare Krishna on your beads, follow all the principles, follow all the program Prabhupada gave. If we can do that, that's very good instruction. It's like you want some special instruction. We should appear in a cloud with the Guru should appear in a cloud with sparks coming out of his head and give you some special instruction. The instruction to chant Hare Krishna is a very special instruction. It's the most special instruction. You think, well, everyone else is doing that. Well, I have some information. We're not God. We're servants of God. Our position is to serve Him. And in this Kali Yuga, the best way to serve Him is by chanting the names of Krishna. So we should all do that. And if we actually do that, then we'll realize how special it is. But if we're thinking, I'm special, I need some special instruction, chanting Hare Krishna, everyone else is doing that, why should I do that? I'm special. Give me some special instruction. That is the special instruction. We have to humbly accept that. You want some special instruction? Chanting Hare Krishna? You want something more? Alright, distribute Prabhupada's books. That's the next one. That's how I can be a guru. Prabhupada said that distributing books is the guru's business. Srila Prabhupada quoted that building temples that's for neophyte devotees, but making books and distributing them all over the world that's the business of advanced devotees. Neophyte devotees mean just like we have this temple, so many people are coming. They're all devotees. So they'll come if there's a temple. When they start reading Prabhupada's books, then they can become advanced devotees. So temples are also needed. People will come. But when they become more advanced, then they'll appreciate that the temple is not just a place to come and see. We have this sign, Darshan in 10 minutes. Actually, Darshan is there all the time. The book stand is there. But they won't appreciate it, because they think it's only a matter of seeing. So temples are also required. But, and of course Prabhupada did both things, but he emphasized on this distributing his books. So that I can be sure. I'm just saying it. Distribute books, distribute Prabhupada's books. Do that. And I'm quite confident that, I am what I am, fool, rascal. But if I can tell you to do that and you do it, then you'll get Prabhupada's mercy and I'll get Prabhupada's mercy. So it's very easy for me to be a guru. I can just chant Hare Krishna, follow the principles, read Prabhupada's books, distribute the books. And that's it. That's all I have to do. As Prabhupada said, it's not a very difficult thing to be a guru. So if you can all do that, then I'll get some, at least I can say to Prabhupada that, I'm still the same fool rascal that I was, but at least, you see, these devotees, Radhesh, distributing so many books, Narayan Pandit's party, distributing so many books, fully dedicated, so many devotees distributing these books. So, thank you for giving me something to say to Prabhupada, that I could encourage some devotees to do that. And they're doing it. Why are you doing that? Why is it that, you see, these householders, they come home from work, and what do they want to do? They relax at home and watch TV. What do people do? They don't have much time, mostly. But if they come home, they watch TV and they take their dog for a walk, and this is what householders do. But they're coming home, and home means it's just time to take some prasadam and fill up the book bag. That's what this Surat team is doing. And home is a place for eating and sleeping, that's all. And the rest of the time they're either doing their samsaric work, they have to do some job, and the rest of the time they're out distributing Prabhupada's books. Why are they doing that? It's not just because, if I say do it, they might do it for, half an hour or something. But if they're not they're doing it because they're getting a taste. Otherwise you can't do it. You're getting the mercy of Prabhupada, is it? Don't have to ask. Definitely you can appreciate Srila Prabhupada's reciprocation. That Srila Prabhupada is very pleased every time you distribute even one of his books. So That's my qualification. Srila Prabhupada also told me to write books. There should be more books written. Srila Prabhupada's books are the law books for human society for the next 10,000 years. There should be many, many books. There are so many books. There are libraries full of rubbish. Thousands of books published every year. All rubbish. So we should publish more and more books about Krishna consciousness and replace the Vayasam Tirtha, the pilgrimage place for crows, that is the mundane literature of the world, and fill the world with spiritual literature. So I'm attempting to write some books also. As many devotees are asking me to save myself answering this question again and again and again, what's happening with my Bhakti Siddhanta book on Srila Bhakti Siddhanta Saraswati Thakur? Well, we started the layout. We got to that stage. Although we didn't finish the writing yet. Usually finish the editing and then you lay it out. But we started the layout. Kind of. So we can say it's almost finished. Within a few months. Layout will take, maybe by the end of January, the layout will be finished. And then there'll be proofreading and indexing, which will take maybe another month or two. And maybe the book will be printed by Gaur Purnima, but it's unlikely. But maybe by Ram Navami like this. So it's coming. Seems like that. It would be nice, but I don't want to rush it. Why rush it and make mistakes? Let's do it really first class. Of course, Srila Prabhupada was pushing that his book should be produced very quickly, but Prabhupada had a mission in a short time. I may have a short time, maybe not, but the first books I brought out were really Indian standard at that time. The Indian printing meant really bad quality, but now there is good quality, so why not? If through these books we are to worship our acharyas, so why not make them first class in all respects? Perform the offering in the best possible way. Of course there'll always be some error, but try to make it suitable offering. So other books there's a few books that I'd like to finish based on Srila Prabhupada's teachings before I have to leave this body. And at this time of life, having crossed the 50 years point, one starts to become aware that we really don't have that much time left. If we live to be 70 or 80, that's also if. It's not much time. So there are a few books I'd like to publish, but it's a very big job making these books. So I'm trying to do some transcendental time management, which means that all the time people are calling me, come here, come there, come to our town, come to our village, come to our temple. And most times I say, directly or indirectly, I say no. If I said yes to everyone, then I'd probably end up, maybe I'd spend as much time arranging my travel as traveling, because I'd have to. There are so many ISKCON centers. Even if just for instance, if I wanted to visit every place in Russia where there are devotees, and I went one day, that wouldn't be enough. In a year. In India also, if I was to visit every town where there are some ISKCON devotees, every town and village where there are some initiated ISKCON devotees, 1 year wouldn't be enough. So I have to say no. Sometimes. I'm saying no more often, because I need to spend time for writing books. And that hopefully will be some contribution, that when this body is no longer here, if some valuable books are there, then that will be a lasting contribution. So please excuse me. If you're calling me, come to our town, come to our village. I can go in the form of a book, but I can't. It's not physically possible to go everywhere. So please excuse that. And also, it's just like so many devotees they offered, not so much now, they gave up, but previously so many devotees were trying to give me a gift of a cell phone, which I politely declined in each instance, because, how are you? Very well, thank you. Tum kaise ho? The whole day can go like this. How are you? Very well. I have an itch on my left foot. Oh, Guru Maharaj has an itch on his left foot. Immediately, take him to hospital. So, I don't have a cell phone. I'm not very sociable. I don't spend a lot of time socializing, you could say. And sometimes people want to come and tell me they have so many problems, but I don't have any solution except to chant Hare Krishna. Now, if you have physical problems, family problems, economic problems, everyone has. Everyone has physical problems, family problems. Almost everyone has economic problems. So that's the nature of the material world, and I don't have a solution to it. I mean, if you have a physical problem, you can go and see a doctor. Economic problem, a doctor might help. At least you can have the satisfaction of thinking, I went to the doctor. Economic problem, well, Prabhupada's solution was go to the land, grow your own food. But no one wants to do that. Family problem, if everyone in the family chants Hare Krishna, then in between throwing the furniture at each other, at least you'll get some benefit. So you can ask, and if you do chant Hare Krishna, then if you have Mangalarti every day, and then you have less time to throw the furniture. It's a good idea not to have furniture. You don't need furniture. Live simply. So, otherwise family means there's always some problem. And even if there is no problem, just like one of my disciples shocked me, I think it was last year, when he told me that in all my, I think it's about 10 years of marriage, I've never had any misunderstanding with my wife so serious that I lost any sleep at night over it. In other words, he doesn't really have any problems with his wife. I was surprised. So even if we don't have family problems, you still have to work your butt off to support the family. You still have to work hard and go in some job, so it's always a problem. And brahmacharis also have problems. Actually, brahmacharis don't have problems. If brahmacharis have problems, then they're not brahmacharis. If you have problems, then get married. That's the problem ashram. You're in the wrong ashram. So anyway, I can just request that you have problems, you have my sympathy, but there's no solution. This material world is miserable. Take it as Krishna's mercy. He's teaching you that this material world is miserable, and maybe you can take some advice from people more experienced in these matters. But I can help you by telling you, please chant Hare Krishna. That's the ultimate solution to all problems. So, I'm also frustrated. But, we think we should become desireless. We should have no desire. But then we take to Krishna consciousness and then we get so many desires. I have so many desires, there's so many books I want to write, and I do want to visit all the places that you're calling me to. And we want to see all these bogus avatars give up their bogus avatarhood and become humble servants of Krishna. There's so many things we want to do. But we can't do everything. So we have to concentrate on that which we may be able to do, what's more feasible. So I'm trying to concentrate on writing books. I'm also trying to visit various centers, and I can request at least my disciples who are gathered here today to help. There are so many desires I have. I'd very much like to see, because Prabhupada wanted that, these farm communities where devotees can live very simply and peacefully and chant Hare Krishna. It's a great challenge to be able to do that. So I'd be very grateful if some disciples would take that up, manifest that. It's a great struggle to do that. It takes a lot of faith in Prabhupada's order that it can be done at all. Most people nowadays, even within ISKCON, they say, you can't do that. That's atheism. If we don't believe what Prabhupada said, then what's the meaning of Guru Mukha Padmavakya Chitete Korea Aikya? But the farmers, they won't work. Gurukul won't work. This is all atheism. All these things, for the glory of Srila Prabhupada, we have to make farm communities real gurukuls. Gurukul doesn't mean that you bring some children, you teach them the government syllabus, and in between you teach them one or two Bhagavad-Gita shlokas. That's not Prabhupada's vision of Gurukul. Government syllabus means Rakshasa syllabus. How to become a good Rakshasa. That's Shanda Amarka's teachings. Shanda and Amarka, the sons of Shukracharya, who were in the pay of Hiranyakashipu to teach how to be a good materialist. So real gurukuls, training Brahmins who can lead the world, who have full faith in Shastra, and who are convinced that this material world is no better than a hole in which to pass stool, who by dint of realized knowledge of Shastra and how to apply that, and by their fixed character, fixed in Krishna consciousness, they can guide the world. This was the kind of Gurukul that Srila Prabhupada wanted. Not making some school so that people can come out and become a computer engineer and in between programming sometimes remember to chant Hare Krishna. That's not Prabhupada's aim. Real Gurukuls we need. Farm communities. And Srila Prabhupada, as he said, I am the real patriot of India. Because Prabhupada wanted to revive the real culture of India. So if we can establish, this is the real glorification of Srila Prabhupada. Let people of India, the most important place in the world, according to Shastra, because it's the best place for spiritual life. Let them come to understand Krishna's tu Bhagavan Swayam. Let them stop their demigod worship and Mayavad and bogus avatars and simply worship Krishna. Let this be established, that the true or the culmination of genuine Indian culture, by which India will be glorified, Srila Prabhupada wanted this, is that people should take to pure devotional service. So, those who are preaching Krishna consciousness, Janma Sarthak Kari, Karo Para Upakar, make our lives successful. Successful means Anyabhilashita Shunya Jnana Kama Dhyanavita Anukulyena Krishnanu Shilanam Bhakti Rutama. To give up any aspiration than to serve Krishna in the way that Krishna wants. Not this mixed up Hinduism. We worship Venkateshwara, Sai Venkatesh, all mixed up, and then even we don't object. There's near to here is the Srikalahasti, which is it's one of the what's that called? One of the 8 what's that called? Jyotirlinga. That's here. So we don't object. That we also offer respect to Mahadev, but we should know how to offer respect to Lord Shiva. How to offer means that we respect him as the greatest Vaishnava. There's no need for quarrel between Shaivites and Vaishnavites, as they call them here in South India. That we offer respect to Lord Shiva, but we understand he is the greatest devotee of Krishna. So in this way, we will respect Lord Shiva. But our attention is clearly to Krishna. Anya Deva Shrainai Tomare Kahino Bhai A Bhakti Paramak Karam. Understanding that we have to worship Krishna without diverting to any demigods. That is the cause of that is how we take to pure devotional service. So reviving this Krishna conscious culture, it is almost dead. Many features of the Krishna conscious culture, the traditional kirtan culture, a lot of that is dead. So much of the music culture, cooking culture, all that cooking means cooking for Krishna. That's also, nowadays it's fast food. Fast food means fast death. You're going to get sick from eating fast food. Eat it. We're talking on the cell phone, eating, watching TV all at once. This is a formula for dying quickly. So, cook nicely for Krishna. There's this idea, women, they shouldn't be housewives. It's below their dignity. They have to have a job. No, why? It's very respectable. You stay at home, look after the children, and cook nicely. Offer to Krishna. So many items. Krishna will be pleased. That is glorious. Becoming a prostitute, sitting in an office, flirting with all the men around you, what is it? Prostitute's life. Men dignified. Indian culture is dignified. This modern culture is how to be the most gross, low class. What's the word? Is there rascal, I suppose. We say it again and again. It's how to be lusty, greedy, no self-control, no spiritual knowledge. This is not India. This is not that Mahabharata. This is not great Bharat. Some years ago, when Basu Goshtru, my godbrother, told me that one Muslim saw him and dressed in a dhoti with tilak. He's from the West. So he asked him, what are you doing in India? You're from the West. We all want to go to the West. Why did you come here for? Basu Goshtru replied, I came here for the culture, but where is it now? What happened to the culture? So reviving that very good culture by which people can live an actually human life and be Krishna conscious. It's difficult for us to be Krishna conscious because we're not human beings. We're just in a human form, but what we get, what we're raised with, especially in the Western world and now in India, it's just animalistic. Lust, greed and anger. That's the TV. TV means lust. All the time, just all sex, stimulation. And greed, buy this, buy that. And anger. The TV shows is sex and violence, which is lust and anger. And the advertisements is greed. Buy this, buy that. So that's subhuman. Indian culture is very dignified. It's all based on respect. People nowadays children don't respect their parents because there's a different culture. They're taught, don't respect. And another reason is that the parents, there's nothing to respect anyway, because the parents are just animalistic. And the children, it's just like, dogs and cats have children. And then what can you expect? Like Prabhupada said, if you bring a group of dogs, he was talking about the United Nations. He said, if you bring a group of dogs together, then how can you expect any peace? Peaceful dogs, there's no such thing. Dogs bark. So like that. Why do dogs bark? Because it's a low birth. They're in the lower modes of nature. So if human beings, if they're in the lower modes of nature, then peace, there's no question of peace. They'll only fight. So it's difficult for us to practice Krishna consciousness because we haven't even been raised as human beings. So Srila Prabhupada wanted to have these farm communities, gurukuls, and train his disciples as brahmanas, real brahmanas, sattvic, who can give direction to human society, that people can see that this person, just by their behavior, is different. He's superior. Not superior in the sense that I've got more money, or I've got more guns, I've got more useless education, but superior because a real Brahmin is superior because he has no interest in any of these things. That Srila Bhaktisiddhanta Saraswati Thakur, he was sent by Srila Bhaktivinoda Thakur to Gaur Kishore Das Babaji Maharaj. And Siddhanta Saraswati, as he was known at that time, he was a childhood prodigy. At the age of 15, he was writing books, and he had found the faults in the science of Jyotish Shastra. He'd found that it's not being taught properly, and he made a revolution in Jyotishi. And he was teaching people who were his father's age. He was very intelligent, from a very respectable family. His father was in the highest position that the British would allow any Indians to come. They wouldn't let them go any higher. And Bhaktivinoda Thakur was respected even by the British, and they didn't respect Indians generally, but they respected him. So it's from a very respectable family, very moral. So in all ways, he was a very first-class person. So Bhaktivinoda Thakur sent him to Srila Gaur Kishore Das Babaji Maharaj, who appeared to be rough, eccentric, uncultured, uneducated, penniless, vagabond from the external point of view. Gaur Kishore Das Babaji Maharaj was just like that businessman was asking, Vangshi Das Babaji, who's that? He hasn't even got any clothes on except a coat. Doesn't even shave. So then Bhaktisiddhanta Saraswati Thakur said that when I approached him, I could understand that everything I considered important, learning, aristocracy, moral behavior, all these things I considered important. He didn't consider it in the slightest bit important. He thought it was no interest in it whatsoever. Everything that everyone else in the world respected me for, he didn't respect me for that. He had no interest in me. He wasn't interested. You want initiation? No. No. Can you initiate me? No. Said, I initiated someone before and they cheated me and went away, so forget it. So he's begging. Please, they said, all right, I'll ask Chaitanya Mahaprabhu. You come back after some time. So he came back after some time and said, well, what did Chaitanya Mahaprabhu say? Oh, I forgot to ask him. Then Bhaktisiddhanta Thakur said that. Then I could realize that everything I considered valuable, he thought it was no value whatsoever. Then what valuable thing did he have that made everything that I and everyone else in the world considered valuable? What thing did he have that made everything that I have appear absolutely insignificant? And not only insignificant, just a disturbance. You're coming here with your aristocracy, your learning, your moral behavior. It's just a disturbance. It you just leave me alone, I want to chant Hare Krishna. So then he realized that what a valuable thing it is. So at the present time, all of India is fascinated by technology, economic development, lust, which even what Bhakti-Siddhanta Thakur had, that was, of course, he's liberated soul, but he has enacted these pastimes to instruct us. So even the Maya he had was respectable, high-class Maya. But now India has become fascinated by the worst things. So, Srila Prabhupada wanted to establish what is the real glory of India. That is Krishna consciousness. So if our devotees, as Srila Prabhupada wanted, they become actual Brahmanas and actually follow this Vedic culture of human life, spiritual life, and set an example for others. Western devotees in India have an important role to play. They have many things to learn here from the almost dead culture. At least there's still something, whereas in the West it's already completely dead. So there's something culturally to be learned here. And also what happens, the Indian people, when they see Westerners chanting Hare Krishna, they feel that, wow, they're doing it, I should be doing it too. This is our culture. They feel like this. One man told me, one Marwari man in Vapi, I think it was in Vapi, in Gujarat, that seeing you, humko sharam lagta, we should be doing it, but you're doing it. And then I told him, you do it also, then फिर आपको शर्म नहीं लगेंगे, then you won't feel, why feel ashamed? You take it up, then you'll feel happy. You'll be happy. So Bhaktivinoda Thakur wanted that the Western devotees and Indian devotees come together, and that will be our real success, where we don't see Western, Indian or any such thing, but everyone is together serving the mission of Srila Prabhupada, which is the mission of Srila Bhakti-Siddhanta Saraswati Thakur, which is the mission of Gaur Kishore Das Babaji Maharaj, which is the mission of Bhaktivinoda Thakur, which is the mission of Chaitanya Mahaprabhu, to come together and serve the Sankirtan movement, sing and dance together, and teach the message of Shastra, of Bhagavad-Gita, as it is. So, there's a lot of work to do. Lot of work. So much to do. The more we try to, or the more we dedicate ourselves in this mission, the more we see there's so much to do. I mean, we're very happy devotees are distributing Srila Prabhupada's books. Was it 6,000 in Slovenia this December? 6,000 and something? Was it? 6,000. So, that's very good. How much in the whole year? 15,000 in the whole year. And as I was explaining the other day, it's actually a lot more. I mean, we shouldn't think, well, in Surat our own party did twice as many as in Slovenia, because it's a lot more difficult to distribute books in the West. I gave that example, was it last year? That if we walk up to someone and say, what was it I was saying? Spider's medicine? medicines for spiders' sicknesses. If we walk up to people and say, this is a book which tells how to give treatment to sick spiders, the people say, well, no thank you. People aren't going to buy it because they're not interested. So in India, if we say this is Bhagavad-Gita, people say, okay, my grandfather, he liked Bhagavad-Gita, so okay, I'm a Hindu, I should have a Bhagavad-Gita. So they'll take it many times. But in the Western countries, if we tell, this is a book about Krishna, and you never heard of Krishna except some funny something or other. And it's about controlling the senses and not eating meat and not drinking wine. And you open the book and it's got all this, looks like talking about spiders, looks like some spider got in the ink pot and crawled all over. They don't know what Sanskrit, Devanagari script is. And why should anyone buy such a book? It's practically impossible to sell even one book. But somehow or other they're selling so many books. So, that's wonderful. Congratulations on distributing so many books. What's the population of Slovenia? 2 million, approximately. So another perspective, another way of looking, we're very happy so many books were distributed, but now we have to consider the other 1,994,000 people who didn't get books in December. So it's like that. The more we do, the more we see there's so much more to do. Prabhupada has very kindly given us so much service to do. It's a kindness, and at the same time it's urgent. Every day, ahani bhutani gachanti hayamalaya. Every day so many people are going to hell without getting Prabhupada's books, without taking to Krishna consciousness. There's so much work to do. We have to distribute so many books. We have to distribute so much prasadam. We have to open so many temples. We have to convince everyone to take up Krishna consciousness. To convince even one person means gallons of blood to take anyone to Krishna consciousness. You have to teach him to give it with the right hand. Jai, Hare Krishna. Very nice. Thank you. So there's so much service to do, and then you may say, well, what am I doing? I'm just sitting all day. Most of the time you'll see I'm just sitting, but I'm writing. So it's not that I'm lazy or I'm just hiding away and doing nothing and saying, you go out and do the work and I'll get the blessings. I'll take a share. You give me some of the share. I may say no, I won't go to your center, but it's not that I'm not in preaching mood. Actually, I'm very much in the preaching mood, but it's by writing. So it's a slow process. But the end result should be something valuable. So there's a lot of work to do. It doesn't all involve running around just by sitting. Now you have this beautiful temple. Just by sitting here, you can preach to so many people. The whole of Andhra Pradesh, at least, is coming here. Tamil Nadu, so many people. From all South India especially, and many people from North India. If we thought how to properly preach to you couldn't keep up with preaching to everyone who came here. There's so much to do. So building these temples it's a way that we can increase our preaching, and it's only for preaching. So there's so much work to do. And another thing I'm doing is, time goes in that also, is making these TV presentations, because TV is an important media. People take it very seriously. So even at this stage, not everything that comes in these DVDs, it's not exactly as I'd like it to be, but that is a medium of... everything you see on these DVDs, don't think is necessarily representing me, because I don't have the final say in everything that comes in it. But that's another important medium. We need it through every medium, radio, TV, advertisements, billboards. There are so many billboards saying to visit the Hare Krishna temple in Tirupati, and the roads when you come in, I saw. So that's all these media we should use. So we need also preaching on TV, radio, in Telugu, Tamil, Hindi, Gujarati, Marathi, all languages. So that's something else. We should try to develop that. Another reason our book distribution is increasing actually is because people see us, our devotees on TV, and then that devotees who are distributing books are telling us that gives them more inspiration to purchase the books. So we should have a good ISKCON TV presence also. Now we're all gathered here today, and like I was saying, we don't know how long we'll all be here. We have lots of service to do. We want to see how everyone's service is increasing. The Guru's duty is to inculcate in the disciples, inspire them with seva vritti instead of vishaya vritti, the tendency or the proclivity for sense gratification, the attitude that I want to serve Krishna more and more and more. So we want that everyone will become more and more infused to serve Krishna more and more and more, and increase our service with great effort. You're distributing 6,000 books in Slovenia, 11,000 in Surat. But that's just the platform to think how to do more. You have to work so hard to distribute 11,000. Of course, they're more intelligent here. Just by sitting, they're distributing 11,000 books. They've got a good system. But you had to work very hard. But it's not that, all right, you did work very hard, very good, very nice. And you think, all right, that's good. Now Guru Maharaj is satisfied, so right. Then you have to think next year. This year it was 11111. Maybe you could think of 111111. 1,11,111. Maybe you could plan like that. At least all the Surat devotees together throughout the year. Can be done. It's not impossible. Can be done. You'll have to go on a 12-month marathon to do that. But if you do, then you'll know what is Prabhupada's mercy. And then, of course, Prabhupada said to double it. I'm saying to increase it by 10 times. So, if you can do, definitely you'll get Prabhupada's mercy more and more. So you can think like that. You can go back. Think. You can start on the train when you're going. Trains are very good for distributing books. So you can start right away. How to do more. We have to also pray for Krishna's mercy to protect our devotees. Somehow or other, some of the devotees who come to be my disciples, Krishna has taken them away very soon. Some of my disciples have passed away. Some of them were in old bodies, so that's not surprising, but about 4 years ago, one devotee who was Balabhadra Bhattacharya was heading up a book distribution party, very enthusiastic brahmachari, passed away. And this year, 2 of my young disciples, one got cancer, a young man, just over a year ago. He was the leading distributor of Srila Prabhupada's books in Finland. He got cancer and he left. No fear, no complaint, nothing. He just, alright, I've got cancer, so Hare Krishna. He just took it, accepted it. So that's glorious, but why Krishna took him so soon? When he was distributing so many books, Krishna knows. And another of my disciples who was doing so much, that was Chaitanyanand. I think many of you went to see him. I was asking devotees that you can go and give him some association as in his last days with us. But they all said, I was getting his association. So then another, Gaurendu Prabhu, was young grihastha with one young baby child, and was doing so much service and helping me with organizing my books and editing the Bhagavad-Darshan in Gujarati, which now, how many subscribers? More than 30. More than 13,000. They're getting more and more subscribers for Bhagavad-Darshan magazine. So he was editing that and then passed away. I got the message, there's something urgent, we have to speak with you, and I thought, they're always phoning up something urgent, I thought it's not very urgent. Alright, so I was joking. So what is it? What's the urgent thing? Because, people phone up and say, well, this devotee said this, and he got angry, and I was thinking of somebody, and then they told me that. He passed away. So let's pray to Krishna for protection of the devotees, that they stay with us. Even worse, actually, some devotees are passing away, but they're passing away in Krishna consciousness. But there are also some devotees who they come to Prabhupada's lotus feet and then they go away again, and it's very painful. So let us pray to Lord Nrsimhadev to protect our devotional creepers. It's a very delicate situation to be in Krishna conscious, to be serving in this glorious movement. Kshurasya dhara nishita duratyaya Durgang patas tat kavayo vadanti. It's like a razor's edge. We can slip at any time. So let us all pray for protection of all the devotees, that we don't slip away from this path of serving Srila Prabhupada's lotus feet. That's worse than physical death. Of course, a devotee never dies, Krishna consciousness never dies, but to leave the path that Prabhupada has come, he gave his gallons of blood. He was constantly, he didn't tell the devotees, but his servants knew that Prabhupada was actually, all the time he was sick. There was always he was his transcendental body was from external vision an old man's body. So it was always sick. He didn't tell his disciples, he didn't complain, but it was always sick. And the disciples were always telling Prabhupada to slow down, don't work so hard. But he pushed because he wanted to give. He gave his gallons of blood just so that we could chant Hare Krishna. So, devotees, please help each other. Don't let anyone slip away. One devotee is more precious than all the non-devotees. Someone who's dedicated their life to Krishna. Every devotee is very valuable. So, those who have taken initiation, we want to see that they're taking it very seriously. Those who are taking initiation, they vow to follow these principles throughout life, to chant the holy names of Krishna. So I'm asking also that don't rush into initiation. You be initiated, but have some idea of what you're doing. Read Prabhupada's books. Before taking initiation, you should at least study Bhagavad-Gita as it is, Nectar of Devotion, and at least 2 cantos of Bhagavad-Gita. Because if you read 2 cantos, then you'll want to read the rest. So read, appreciate what Srila Prabhupada, what he's giving us, what he worked so hard, staying up all night to translate these books. What is that knowledge of Krishna that he wants us to have? So don't rush, don't waste time, but don't take it cheaply also. A few times I've seen devotees, they're pushing, give me initiation, give me initiation, give me initiation. And they think, well, they're very enthusiastic. But usually those who push, they'll go away. It means that they're not, they're pushing for initiation for the wrong reason. Actually, no one should push. Should think that when the mercy comes, I'll accept it. Those who are pushing, it usually means they have some other motive, that they want that people should recognize me as I'm initiated, whatever the reason may be. But I see that those who push like that, they don't stay. So study Prabhupada's books. That's the meaning of initiation, is to understand this philosophy of Krishna consciousness and apply it in our lives. So, thank you very much for all coming here, as I said, to remind me of my responsibility to you to help to make it clear that we're here to serve Srila Prabhupada's mission, which is Chaitanya Mahaprabhu's mission, and to help me to be more aware of my responsibility to act in a manner that is representative of Srila Prabhupada. That will be my offering to Srila Prabhupada. If I have to present that at least I tried to